Continuing with the layout of our two-bedroom condo unit, there's lots of approaches we can take to the layout of the walls. In this movie, I'd like to look at commands like move and copy and offset and trim, and these are staple commands in any CAD or drafting program, and Revit is no exception. So let's take a look at how some of these tools function here in Revit. So I'm in a file called Modifying Walls, and we're going to click over here on the Modify tab. The Modify tab contains all of the tools that we're going to look at here on this Modify panel. I'm going to start with the Move command. Move command has a shortcut of MV. Now I'm going to let the tooltip load here for a second by pausing my mouse over it, and what you'll notice is that a small animation starts to run after a few seconds. So all of the commands on this tool palette have these little animated tooltips, and they can be really helpful to give you a sense of how these commands function. So I encourage you to just take a few moments and pause over each of those and watch the animations. So I'm going to click the Move command, and what you'll see is because I clicked the command first and I don't actually have any selection on screen, that Revit's going to prompt me to make some sort of a selection. If I do it this way, I need to let Revit know that I'm done selecting by pressing the Enter key. Now, this is just one way that we can do it. The alternative is to make your selection first before you click the command, and I'll show you that next, but I want you to see both methods. After I've made the selection and pressed my Enter key, at the status line, it'll say, click to enter the move start point. Now, there's a variety of ways that you could indicate where you want to start moving from and where you want to end up. But in all cases, you're picking 2 points, or you're indicating 2 points. You're indicating how far you want this object to move. In this case, let's say that I wanted to go a distance that was equal to the width of this closet. In that case, I can actually use my object snaps and say I want to go from this endpoint to this endpoint, and the result will be a movement that matches that width. And when I click, you'll see that wall will move by that amount. Now, a really nice thing happens with walls is they stay attached at both ends wherever possible. So Revit tries to keep all of the objects connected to one another. If it can't do that, it'll actually generate an error message and tell you that it can't keep them joined anymore. So that first move I did by selecting the Move command and then having it prompt me for selection. In this case, I've decided that I moved it a little too far. I want to move it back a little bit, and the object is already selected. So now notice that if I click the Move command, it just simply goes right to asking me about where I want to move from and to, because it already has a selection. This tends to be my preference. I tend to prefer to select the object first and then execute the command, but it's really a matter of personal preference. Both achieve the same result. So in this case, I'm going to pick a random point on screen, start moving in the direction that I want to move, and then I can simply type on the keyboard how far I want to move. And maybe I want to go about 2.5 feet. So I'm going to put in 2 space 6, which as you recall is one way that we could put 2 foot 6. I could also put 2 foot symbol 6. Either one would work. And now the wall moves back 2 foot 6. Now, if you know how to move, you already know how to copy, because the prompts in the copy command, here's the button, and the shortcut is CO, are exactly the same. Where do you want to copy from, and where do you want to copy to? And I'm just going to do that on screen with 2 clicks. And that'll give me a new wall next to the original. Now, I could use Move again to move this wall into the position where I want it. I actually want it down here at the bottom of my plan, or it turns out that at the end of the wall, they actually have these little grip points. So in this case, it might actually be more convenient to just grab that grip and start dragging it until it snaps to the opposite wall. And then I can grab this grip and start dragging it to about right there. Again, either method is fine. If you prefer to move, you can feel free to do the move. There's no right or wrong way to do these things. Let's direct our attention to the Trim and Extend to Corner command next. I'm going to show you a quick example of that. Here it is right here. TR is the shortcut. You use this command to create L conditions. So whenever you want to make a nice corner like we have right here, you can use this command. So for example, if I no longer needed this part of the wall and I wanted to make that L back here, I can select this as my first wall, and then it will prompt me to select my second wall, and I can click right here, and you see it actually trims off that piece right there. Let me repeat it again from here to put it back again. And in that case, it extended the wall. So this command is either a trim or an extend, depending on the 2 points you click. Now I'm going to use it over here to create a small little coat closet. We're going to enter our condo right in this location here, and right here and here, I want to make a small little coat closet. Now notice that it gives me those little dashed green lines to indicate the result. That can be really helpful to make sure you're clicking the right stuff. You want to pay very close attention. How does it know whether or not you're getting this undo or this undo? If you pay close attention to the prompt, it says, click on the part you want to keep, here or here. And you can see the small little dashed line. So if I want to keep that side, that's the part I click. If I want to keep that side, that's the part. So just keep that in mind as you use this command. Now, I need a small corridor over here to enter the unit, and then I want to join that up with this command, and I'll be using trim again for that. But before I can get to the trim, I need to actually create the new wall on the other side. Now, I could do that using any of the methods we've talked about so far. Let's look at offset for that. So the shortcut is OF. Over here on the options bar, I want to make sure I put in the distance that I want to offset. I'm going to use 5 feet in this case. Just put in 5 feet and press enter. And then as you move your mouse around on screen, if you highlight objects, you'll see a small green dashed line appear where it would create the offset copy. So I'm going to highlight this wall right here. Make sure the green dashed line is down, because it can go up as well if you move your mouse. So make sure it's going down and then click, and that'll give me the copied wall in the location that I need it. I'll switch to trim and extend. I'm going to select this wall. And again, remember to click the part you want to keep. So click down here, not up here. And when I do that, it will create that nice angled corner. I'm going to cancel out of there with the Modify tool, select this wall. I want to make my living room area here a little bit larger and my kitchen over here a little bit smaller. So I'm going to use temporary dimensions in this case to do that. Click right here. We've already talked about temporary dimensions, and make the living room 12'6". Now, why would I choose temporary dimensions here instead of using the move command? Well, you may have noticed that the dimension I started with was some fractional number. To use the move command effectively and end up at exactly 12'6", I'd have to do the math and I'd have to be somewhat precise. The temporary dimension is a much better job in the case where you know what the final number needs to be. In the case where you know how far you want to move, the move command is usually a better choice. So they're both very effective. It just depends on what you're starting with and where you want to end up. Now, over here I need a mechanical closet and a small pantry. So I'm going to go to my wall command, and I'm just going to sketch these rooms in like so and like so. And I'll fine tune and clean that up a little bit later. Click my Modify tool to cancel out of there. I want to take this segment of the wall out. There's a few ways I could approach that, but I want to show you a new tool for this purpose, and that is the Split tool. So I'm going to click on the Split tool, and the way this works is if you click an object, it just simply breaks that into two pieces. So if I cancel out of the command with the Escape key, you'll see I have one wall here and another wall here. Now, if I did it that way, I'd have to then use my trim and clean up this corner and this corner. What I'm going to do instead is Control-Z to undo that. Go back to the Split command, and it has an option over here in the options bar called Delete Inner Segment. If I remember to check that first, then it can be a little faster because I'll split it precisely right here at the intersection, and then right here also at the intersection, and it will split out the segment in between. If you forget to do that, it's not a big deal. You can erase it manually or use the trim command as I mentioned, but this can save you a few clicks if you remember to do that. So as you can see, Revit provides many modification tools to make your layout tasks simpler. You're going to want to practice with each one of those and get comfortable with them. You can use them very effectively here in floor plan layouts, but they work anywhere in the Revit software and for a variety of purposes. So make sure you're comfortable with as many of these as possible because they will remain an important part of your Revit arsenal.